Giogwich, Manam Cordich go there, Smisha Brandon Makegon, as Trave Neheran. So, hello everybody, my name is Brendan. I'm from a little place in the west of Ireland called Leenan. It's where Ireland's only fjord is. And I'm going to speak today about rebellion and what exactly I mean by that. And I can promise you just maybe a couple of things that I'll do my best with enough courage and clarity to say what I mean and mean what I say. And we'll take it from there. And I say to my people's masters, beware. Beware of the thing that is coming. Beware of the risen people, who shall take what ye would not give. Did ye think to conquer the people, or that law is stronger than life, and than our desire to be free? We will try it out with you, ye that have harried and held, ye that have bullied and bribed, tyrants, hypocrites, and liars. Now, for anybody not familiar with those words are almost 100 years old, and they were written by, that's right, yeah, they're written by one of the main revolutionaries of the Irish 1916 Rising, and Ford Pierce, of course, was a fantastic poet in his own right, as well as caring very deeply about freedom. And it's approximately 100 years. Of course, 1916 is coming quite soon. But for me, my own impulse to be free has nothing got to do with any other person, any other system. Because I'm little by little beginning to realize, little moments of clarity, that freedom really does begin within ourselves, within this complex of mind and emotion, and right down to our physical cells in our body. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the systems that I would see, but more so I'm going to talk about my own experience, particularly in the last few years, of what has happened within me and what I've perceived in myself. 4 years ago, I went into deep crisis within myself. I'd been working for our family firm, which was a construction firm in the west of Ireland, small to medium-sized company, and I'd been managing director for approximately 5 or 6 years. But the dark passenger of depression, which had been a constant within me for, looking back now, I'd say it's probably my early teens I first maybe felt a twinge of it, though without being able to express exactly what it was. It began to reach its zenith, its strongest, as my life seemed to begin to crumble around me. Of course, I hadn't a clue what was going on inside myself. But literally overnight, I had to leave the job I was doing, and for the first 3 months, and what I spent on the couch, I suppose, perhaps it was called some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder, but that's only a name. And I have to say that my deepest feelings and emotions and thoughts, they seemed to intensify in a really negative way, and it seemed to be progressively worse over the months and months that followed, until I got to a point, and I'll always remember it, because previously if you asked me if somebody committed suicide, I would have said, that's the coward's way out. Yet I remember the time, that particular moment I had that thought. Now I have a family, also I love very deeply, 3 kids, but I remember the thought, I just don't want to be here anymore. And that was the essence of this feeling that I had for so many years. There seemed to be this internal struggle within myself of wanting to live and not wanting to live. And it had been there under the surface of my conscious thought for so many years. Well, little by little, for the first time in many years, I began to read. And so lots of different books sort of came into my path. A lot of the ancient wisdom traditions. Deepak Chopra introduced me, however shortly, to the Vedic tradition, and many others. Too much to actually mention. So, what happened that there was any kind of change in me? I was coming out from Westport, which is maybe 20 miles away from where we live. We live out in the country, 20 miles. And I was driving out in the car, and all of a sudden, it was like a physical pain hit me all through my body. And I had to pull over and stop the car. But after I sort of got used to it, just for even 10-15 seconds, I felt this incredible, overwhelming sense of oneness with everything. Simultaneously though, huge fear seemed to arrive out of nowhere within me. I hadn't a clue what this was. But that feeling of complete oneness, of everything, despite what I saw around the world, and despite what I felt inside myself, everything was perfect. At its very core, everything was perfect. Now, somebody said when you have a realization that you never forget it. Maybe that was a realization, I don't know. But from there, I began to look inside myself, to actually watch myself, watch my thoughts, feel my emotions, see how my body would react immediately to my thoughts. Because as the lady said here beforehand, I think her name is Claire, the body doesn't lie. It cannot tell what is real and what isn't. The mind directs it. They're in reciprocal relationship to each other. So, looking out into the world of what I saw, and it became clearer and clearer to me that out in all these systems that we have on Earth, and it seems to have been there for thousands of years, at least 6,000 years, is a particular consciousness of empire. Empires seem to have arose on Earth for the first time in around 6,000 years ago. And they've moved, this same consciousness moved across the Earth. Through Iraq, it seems to have began there, but there was the Chinese Empire also. And it's moved then through the Greek, the Roman, the British, the American, and it seems to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger, as we can see out in the world, and all the different financial, banking, political, spiritual, even pantomimes that are played out, which seem to want to control human beings. Naturally, I'm not particularly down with this whole concept, because I like, in fact, it's my deepest desire to be free. Free of mind, free of emotions, free of body. It's just an inner impulse. And my consideration is that we are practically, virtually all of us, have this same unique expression of this desire to be free now, this moment. So what is it that isn't free in us? The Greek have the word, and a lot of their great thinkers at the time, from Plato to Aristotle, ego. So what is ego? We know that the Greek word means I, but what is it? And my own sense of what ego is that we come into the world as free, unique, open beings, and barring any physiological or psychological trauma that we might experience, that up until around between 18 months and 24 months, we perceive no separation of energy. Everything is just this one energy. Now, it's a natural thing for us because we've come here, we exist here and now, this moment. On Earth, we've had this experience of separation, to feel, to experience, to think what it's like to be an individual. But of course, this is only a play. In the Vedic tradition, they call it the play or the dream of Maya. That the power that we are has created this all that we see around us, this incredible, indescribable mystery and magic that is here right now and is everywhere. But we're essentially connected to it. If you consider the metaphor of the ocean, I've always found that metaphor helpful. That the ocean is there, body of the ocean, always moving. And then there are moments where waves arise, individual waves. And we're a little bit, we've been like that. We arise in life, and we disappear again to whatever place there is after we leave here physically. But what happens is, between 18 and 24 months, when we get this sense of separateness, fear arises within the being, our being. This is the birth of ego. Now, in a lot of the ancient tribal societies, there was little rituals as the child got older to reintegrate this feeling of separateness back into the tribe. But as empire grew, the first thing empire did, this consciousness of empire, which, by the way, is, for want of a better term, psychopathic. And psychopathic in the truest sense of the word. Psycho, mind, though the Greeks had a slight take on it that it was connected to the soul. Psychopathos, suffering, or mind sickness. As empire has moved through the earth, each time, wherever it went, the first thing it did was take out all the structures, all the framework of the tribes, wherever it went. It knew it had to do that first. So, the North American Indians taken out, the Aborigines taken out, all their shaman, their medicine men. When the Romans invaded Britain, I think it was in around, say, 70 AD, 70 years after the birth of the priestess, if you believe that. The first thing they did was took out the British Druids. They were massacred just off the coast of Liverpool in a little island called Anglesey. And when they did that, they built the biggest mega fortress in Western Europe for the staging post to take out the main knowledge centre, which was this land. But for some reason, I don't know why, the mystic Rudolf Steiner reckoned that the Druids did a bit of shamanic mojo on the particular leader of the Roman forces in Britain at the time. But all of a sudden, the Romans left. They took the legions away, left a certain amount, and went back to the eastern part of the empire. And for 400, 500, 600 years, what happened in this land gave the breathing space for a deep, deep spiritual, natural spirituality to arise here. Anyway, that's some of the outer manifestations of what has been going on within us in times past. The ego, inside myself. And I have to credit, it was the first time I'd read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. And I found it very interesting at first. But there was one moment when I said to myself, I realized, Jesus, it is now. It's now. And every now is fresh and unique. And the more I felt it, the more hallelujah. Yes, I do want to live. I do want to experience this as I've got a breath in my body. The ego is an incredibly powerful force. Because of the empire getting in at it and destroying all the tribal supports, the ego energy has become pathological itself. Sick, insane. And we see out there all these different structures that we have that we call human civilization at the moment, which is far from civil, that they're psychopathic, insane. Governments, banking, pharmaceutical, it doesn't matter. But it all stems, at its essence, from psychopathic feeling of fear and separation inside us all. It's there. However, it's not the deepest part of us. It's not the most essential part of us. That we are more powerful right now than we think. We're more powerful, precious. This moment than we can think, because we're more than thought. We have this incredible ability of thought. And if you really look at thought and relax into it, you'll see when you think that you're actually stepping slightly out of the now. And you're looking back, and you're looking future. But even when you're looking at the future, it's through the known, which is memory. It's through the light of what we've already experienced. No, it's not so much that we think is the problem, even though most of us are addicted to it. Spend 5 minutes on your own. Quiet, turn off the TV. Spend 5 minutes, sit still, and just watch your mind move. And the more intense the situation out here, the more to move and retreat to the deeper levels which don't exist at the conscious level, but in the subconscious, this huge deep reservoir of patterns, right back, right down to the essential master concept, which is I. I am separate, and because of that feeling, I am afraid. That's the essence of what's happening within us as humans at this moment on Earth. However, we're more than that. We're the ocean. We're connected at every level there is. Among the tribal nations, the indigenous people of the earth, there's a very similar myth. Perhaps the greatest myth of all, that myths aren't myths. But the myth goes that, and it stretches right across from the Aborigines to the Maori nation, to the desert men of the Kalahari, to the Hopi Indians, to so many of them. But the myth goes something like this, that in the beginning, we knew we were the dreamers of the dream. And we dreamt wondrous things. And when the dream was finished, we dissolved the dream, and we dreamt a new dream. But at some stage, somehow, something happened, and we got trapped in this dream. And this dream began to turn into a nightmare. And that was through the first, second, third, depending on the particular tribal tradition, fourth or fifth. But all of the elders within these traditions seem to agree this time is unique in our existence as human beings. And that when it comes to the fifth one, we remember that we're the dreamers of the dream. So what did that mean in terms that I could understand, besides sounding beautiful and lovely? In essence, we are dreaming this right now. That the being we are, the being that I am, the being that you are, is the same being. But I'm having an individual experience of it. And that by collapsing this observer that's in with us, that sits behind our thoughts, the great observer, is collapsing all this energy into this physical reality. So I turn my attention towards, a lot of the time for these last few years, about all the different systems of control that seem to be on us and seem to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I don't think ever it's been as strong, of this massive, intense need to keep human beings down, suppressed, keep them away from themselves. Now I entitled this The Uprising of the Tribe of Eire. Somebody wrote Eire there, well, that's okay. And not a revolution, but a rebellion. And the difference I see is that a revolution is something that comes round again. I really deeply feel that we're at an incredible stage because we're in crisis as beings, but we have had to go into it. We've had to experience this for the last few thousand years. That we need to go into this crisis to make the jump to the next level. In physics, an energy field has to fall out into chaos to jump to the next level. And I think that's where we are now. Of course, crisis, particularly the Chinese nuance of it, means danger, opportunity. I've directly experienced that myself going into crisis in the last few years. That there's great danger. So I went close to finishing it myself. But the opportunity that has arisen from that within me All it is a unifying process that seems to be happening within me and us. We're just returning to ourselves. That the most rebellious thing you can do is not try and fight out here against the systems, because that's fighting with the same consciousness. And this is all about consciousness. What is consciousness? I suppose the question is, what isn't? Because everything is. Everything is consciousness. But that's a word. But it seems to be the fabric and essence of the entire universe or creation. And consciousness then, with its handmaiden energy, modulates everything into physical material world. So it comes down to being yourself. The most rebellious thing you can do is to be yourself. We were once that. We've had moments of that in our lives, no matter what has happened, particularly when we were kids. And as you begin to enter the system, no matter how conscious your parents would have been, you still have to experience this very unconscious, suppressing system of life that is being created, that we have created, and we still agree to. So what is yourself? What is being yourself? When I say, I want to be myself. It seems to be in all, before the organized religions got organized, and priesthoods inserted themselves between us and all this, and other forms of control, that the mystery schools talked about an inner journey each of us had to make to know thyself. Written on I lived beside a place called Delphi in Leanan, funnily enough. I think it was an Englishman that must have named it when they owned all that land. But at the Oracle of Delphi, all the leaders of the Greek Empire, the different factions within it, used to go to the oracles for advice and divination. But yet the real message was written on the walls of Apollo before you went to see them. It was Gnoti Sauton, know thyself. And as you begin to unify yourself, feel yourself, you begin to know who you really are. And more than know, you begin to live that knowledge. Because the wise people, all the wise people that you know, that I know, they don't go around preaching that much. They live their knowledge, they live their wisdom. And any movement of human beings getting together, if they're operating from that feeling of separation and fear, it's destined to fail. So the more I unify myself, each of us carries this perfect note, like a perfect beat. And by losing touch with ourselves and not reintegrating ourselves holistically, whole, this is where the word holy came from. Priests would have used. Holistically. Then, when I unify myself into my note is unique, as your note is unique. And the more of us that do that, the stronger this orchestra, this symphony of being begins to arise. And it can be the most smallest of things. In fact, the real battle, and in fact even the word battle is a word of the ego, the real time, which is timeless, is now. Whatever it is you're doing, it's brushing your teeth, walking up the stairs, how I speak to my son or daughters, how I speak to a complete stranger. What's my intention behind the words? Because words are magical. We have mantras, tools of the mind. In the Druidic tradition we have the mantram, the magical word. But words are carriers of intention. It's the intention that we're given. To be aware of that when we speak. How do I speak to my son when I'm pissed off with him and I've got my energetic perceptual shield of being a parent on? What happens when I let go of that and just be a being with him? And yes, I am his father and he is my son. At most, at our depth, at our essence, we're beings. So I want to talk about 3 portals that I found useful. Sorry, my friend. You okay? You're all right. Do I want a projector? No, I'm fine. Do you want to take it? All right, okay. Take it away, there's no panic. Yeah, take it away, there's no worries. I want to talk about three portals of power that each of us can use, which I have not just read and put together, but I test run in my own experience, doing the smallest of things, doing bigger things that seemed to work for me. And the first one, of course, is the realization that it's always now. What is it that moves? What doesn't stay in the now? The restlessness of the ego mind. It's continuously on the move. It's like a wave of energy moving all the time. So to realize it's always now, do that any time. Depending how strong the ego is inside you, it can be very difficult sometimes. No matter how hard you try, it's like pushing open a door that says pull almost. It's always now, right now, and it's fresh beyond freshness. It's unique, sacred. Any word you can throw at it, it is. It's always now. It's only the mind on the move. It's always now. Even when we think we're doing it from this position here. So anybody waiting on the Ashtar Command alien jet force to come down and save humanity can forget about it. Or Jesus to surf down in a cloud from the sky. It's not going to happen. We have the power to make changes. But all we have to do is be ourselves. So the now. The second one, which I continue to use on a regular basis, is the power of breath. I was fascinated by a lot of the martial arts seem to focus, before they focused on any other movements, they focused on breath and how to breathe properly. So, due to the incredible fractal nature of infinite intelligence, we have the surface, we have the capacity in here, if you were to spread out our lungs, it's the size of a tennis court. And yet particularly us in the Western world, and particularly because of these influences that are upon us, we're chest breathers. We breathe from our chest up, a third of our capacity. And the reason we're doing that is because the ego energy is so strong in us. It's constantly worried, anxious, low-level anxiety, and which simultaneously is releasing cortisol and all other death-giving chemicals into our body. So with breath. So I'll demonstrate if I can. So normally, if you pay attention to it, even for a couple of minutes yourself, where you breathe from, you'll find that more often than not, you're breathing just from here up. In fact, the way to naturally breathe is the direct opposite. So instead of when I breathe in, my chest moves up from my diaphragm. The moment I breathe in, my belly actually expands. I expand my belly. This belly breathing. Get right down into the belly, because here, this place here, particularly in men, we carry all the emotional fear that we felt all over the years that is hiding subconsciously down here. Fire in the belly. Bring the life force of breath, all the life force that is carried down by breath, into this area by a belly breath. But that's only one half of the process, because the other half of the process is simultaneously, consciously breathe. And what that means is, as you breathe, you're paying attention to your breath. You're focusing in a relaxed way, all your energy onto your breath. Now immediately, the mind will look to have a thought. It will look to kidnap your consciousness and bring it to a past or future scenario. And that's fine, just be aware of it. Because even though the mind is the director of the body, it's in a reciprocal relationship. So if you relax your body, begin little by little to still your mind, to calm your mind. It's in a reciprocal relationship. Now, the third portal, and the most powerful, and going to read out just a little song and a hymn, a poem. I'm not going to sing, and believe me, you'll be glad. This is found in the Book of Ballymote. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, the Book of Ballymote was an ancient Irish manuscript that was found in the 14th century, rediscovered and translated as this. It gives an insight into the consciousness of our ancestors. And just on that, it was interesting to me to find out that the first DNA study was done both in Britain and in Eire. And I prefer the word Eire, by the way, though it's quite apt that it's called Ireland. Whoever was the member of the aristocracy that put this abstraction from the word Eire together, land of Eire, it's quite apt, except all our Eire is being suppressed. So this is the song, and this was directly from the Book of Ballymote from the 1300s. This is the song of the bard Taliesin, a pupil of Merlin. But its roots of these words are much, much older. I am the wind that blows upon the sea. I am the ocean wave. I am the murmur of the surges. I am 7 battalions. I am a strong bull. I am an eagle on a rock. I am a ray of the sun. I am the most beautiful of herbs. I am a courageous wild boar. I am a salmon in the water. I am a lake upon the plain. I am a cunning artist. I am a gigantic sword-wielding champion, for I can shift my shape like a god. What is it about that piece that rang true when I heard it? And I realised that it goes back to very, very ancient knowledge of this portal of power called the I am. What is that? Of course it's a word. But what does it allude to? What direction does that point? That behind every thought, at the back, the essence of every emotion, and an emotion is just the body's reaction to thought. At the back of every thought, at the back of every emotion, is this feeling of I am. Now, if you leave it out as a thought, that's fine, but it's more than that. It's a thought, feeling, a unification of all our being. You cannot deny that you exist right here, right now, this I am. It is so powerful, so refreshing to your being to stay in that, to sit, to walk, to feel it now. I am. Begin it as a thought, but let it become a feeling. So even go into just your subtle body energy. Feel it in your hands first. I find it a good place to start. Just your inner energy that you exist. I am. I am that I am. Words from the Old Testament, but they're much older than that. This is the nature of consciousness itself. I am. Here and now as an individual. So that I am is everything else. And flip it. All this, so I am. But to stay in this I am feeling. And it's very weird and strange. Even for a moment. It's happened to me only in a few occasions where the thought stops. And it's just I am. Anytime you feel anxious, nervous, afraid, fearful, out of kilter, whatever it may be, I am. And while my am is unique, and your am is unique, this I am beingness is all one. We're all one. Waves on the ocean of consciousness. As you stay in your thoughts, even for a couple of minutes, try it out. You'll notice this presence, this witness, this observer within yourself that's witnessing and observing and being present to your thoughts and your feelings. So the problem with the ego is not that we're thinking, we've been given the gift of thought, but it's that we identify we've identified, we think we're our thoughts and that we're our emotions. But us as human beings right now, this is where I think the real action is at. Is we're remembering that we're not our thoughts and we're not our emotions. We're this I am thought feeling. And it's only a word as well. The feeling is different. It's way beyond word. So, as this is called Féile na Saoire, Festival of the Free, I'd like you all just to stand, if you would, with me just for a second. If you want to. Sit also. Free to do whatever you like. But what I'm going to ask you to do is, now I know the music is a bit loud here, so I don't know what the speaker sound is going to be like, but as an exploration for yourself, it's now, and you cannot but not communicate with the universe right now. So you're going to communicate with everything that is, both inside yourself, with all the people here, with all the people through all dimensions of existence, which is infinity. So I have one word to say to you. If you be free to do it or be free not to. But dance. Now, of course, Madonna's song is going to challenge one sex a little bit more than the others. But just as a little feeling, feel what it's like to be here right now. I am alive. Whatever that may mean to you. Get a feeling of yourself to do whatever you wish.
Come on, boys.
Because remember, our bodies do like to move. Now, in around 5 or 6 hours' time, there'll be no problem asking people who are staying around here to dance, of course, but to do it without anything else, to do it naturally, to let go.
Now, boys, move!
You tell them, girls.
Go on, boys! Go! Go! You can move.
Okay, listen, thanks for doing that. Just before I finish, I'm going to read to you the last piece, which is my name in Gaelic is Keegan. Keegan or Egan?
What's it mean?
Keegan or Egan? Yeah, and I'm Keegan. But, and I found this from a guy called Gillan and Nave Mactin Shleva Vic Egon, dated 1309. And now, believe me, I'd have had the odd little facetious giggle of people with double barrel names in my past, believe me. So when I saw a so-called ancestor of mine that had, I don't know, there's 5 or 6 names there anyway, you know, it sort of put things into perspective. But it's not his name that's important, it's what he said. And of course, he would have been Brehon to the King of Connacht in 1309. But he didn't say anything political, and he didn't say anything about getting more money. This is what he said, and I'm going to read in Gaelic first. Gau mo corla mo vec vian, gan raurva, gan glec glor, lan schlihe ratlin na rear, auru kiel I kriha is core. And that translates as this. Take my advice, gentle youth, without undue acrimony, without petulance of speech. Follow the very clear stipulated path. Adherence to the promises in your heart is what is right. Folks, thank you very much for listening.